now. Instill malicious and grudge upon my people now. You see the dirty lifestyle, the rasta man about it. There's nothing in them system of which they create all around. And they criticize their own children, yeah, they would catch at a straw if they were to drown. They're not different from those scribes and Pharisees who come around. They lurks in the corners, skylarks on the streets, flirts in the towns. They never do positive. They find a joy making people business their own. Dance a yard before you dance a rob. The high priest tell you that I knew they're from God and go get good ways. True grace, of the perch we pass and you get. You have the good ways. You long days. Now take no bribe from not a screw face. Go get good ways. Good grace. Perch we pass and you get. I'm in the forward, pull up that.
Yo, check this out. This is Anthony Cruz, and you don't know it's the Diaspora Connection featuring Kabbalah for Jamaicans with Joshua. Keep it locked, now, man. Blaze it hot. Anthony Cruz.
Just organize and centralize my people because Babylon now. Instill malicious and grudge upon my people now. You see the dirty lifestyle, the rasta man about it. There's nothing in them system of which they create all around. And they criticize their own children, yeah, they would catch at a straw if they were to drown. They're not different from those scribes and Pharisees who come around. They lurks in the corners, skylarks on the streets, flirts in the towns. They never do positive. They find a joy making people business their own. Dance a yard before you dance a rob. The high priest tell you that I knew they're from God and go get good ways. True grace, of the perch we pass a young get. You have the good ways. It give you long days. Now take no bribe from not a screw face. Go get good ways. Good grace. Perch we pass a young get. You have some good ways. It give you long days. What do you say? I tell you now. They are wait your downfall. Figure about greater joy. I come miss on you a figure. Have a kitchen won't fill off. When Babylon City I got down propaganda where them spread becomes a dagger to them heart. Think say them have a secret. The baby reveal it to them I walk witchcraft out. So them better, so them are closing. Contempt the youth them where they pass. Every man is equal. Rastafari say, try not on the ungodly part. God and go get a good ways. Long days, birds be pass a young gate. What about your good ways? It give you length of days. Yo, now you taste how you medicine they taste. Yeah, what? Hey, what's them now? I thought about them this, them that. Who slick from who flap? Hey, them some ass Joe Bush and anything else. When we come and must be rubbish and trash. Hey, every day that them practice the same thing they never yet to know when to stop. Full up a bad mind. Then I want make you want to see your brother drop.
One, two.
True grace. First before you pass, I get to and that's some good ways. It give you long days. Oh, now them chase out them medicine that taste. Good ways, long days. Now like a king Selassie, tune a screw face. Good ways, it give you length of days. No take no bribe from no screw face. Just have some good ways. It give you length of days. Oh, this is what the true face. I tell you now, there's nothing in the system that they'll create around. They criticize their own entry, yet they would catch up just well if they were to drown. Don't you see they're not much different from the scribes and the Pharisees?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 132 of Diaspora Connection featuring Kabbalah for Jamaicans. My name is Joshua. I hope you all are doing very well. I want to wish you all a Shana Tova, which means we are now in the new year, the new Israelite year. For those of you who have been listening, we've been talking about the days leading up to Rosh Hashanah, which was last week, Thursday and Friday. Yes, it is the Israelite New Year. It is the start of a new cycle, a new calendar cycle, by which it's a 22-day period, 22-day cosmic opening, by which we engage in prayers and connections to draw down light and energy for the entire year. The Creator revealed to the Israelites, revealed to Moses and the Israelites, that during this 22-day period, from Rosh Hashanah to Simchat Torah, that if we engage, if we perform certain rituals and prayers, that we can connect to energy for the entire year. This is what the Israelite does. These are the secrets that the Israelites were taught, and this is why they are so powerful in this world. And the Kabbalah for Jamaicans program is designed to bring this wisdom to Jamaicans. Because, my friends, you would have to be in denial not to see that the Israelite, or the modern day Jew, is very powerful everywhere in the world, very influential, and very unified. The reason they are unified and influential is because of the wisdom that they live by. Remember, the rain falls on the just and the unjust. But those who understand how to capture the rain and use it for their benefit, okay, they're doing that. Even the person who performs evil works, the rain will fall upon them as well. And you see them prosperous in the world. So even much more for those who live by the ordinances of the Torah, and the Torah is the 5 books of Moses: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Those of us who live by the 3-column system of the tree of life, because the true definition, according to the Zohar, of an Israelite is the one who lives by the 3-column system. The understanding of energies, the flow of energies of right, left, and central column within the tree of life. And for those of you on Facebook and YouTube, the symbol that you see, the Star of David, and the figure that's above the K4J, the red dots with the lines, that is the tree of life. That is called the 10 Sfirot. And the teachings of Kabbalah are given to us for us to understand the flow of energy from the upper worlds to our world of Malhut, the world of physicality. That is what the teachings have been given to us for. And to put an end to pain, suffering, and death. And to establish immortality. Yes, immortality. Even the Bible that Christians live by, which includes the Old Testament and the New Testament, speaks about the death of death. Right? Where there'll be no more death. For even Yeshua, Jesus of Nazareth, said, "He who believes in me shall never die." But guess what? He wasn't just referring to he who believes in him, Jesus as the person, And whether or not he really said that, I'm not sure. Because he never really wanted to point to himself and to make anything of himself. Because when the young ruler came to him and said, "Good master, what must we do to inherit eternal life?" He said to him, he turned to him and said, "Why do you call me good? There is only one good, and that is God." Now, for those who consider Jesus to be God, look at that statement. Does that sound like somebody who is declaring himself to be God? He said there's only one God, only one good, and that's God. So he was saying, "Why do you call me good?" So the Torah, the 5 books of Moses and the teachings of the Old Testament were revealed on Mount Sinai to bring an end to pain, suffering, and death. And to establish, in fact, on Mount Sinai, immortality was established. But when the children of Israel, through the influence of the Erev Rav, those Israelites who were among them, who did not want to be led by the Creator, those who had an evil intention, they influenced Aaron to build the golden calf when Moses was away for 40 days and 40 nights. When they established the golden calf, immortality was lost. Because when the Creator revealed himself, and the Bible talks about this, those who were without limbs, those who were without eyes, began to see. Those who had limbs missing grew new limbs. Those who were sick were no longer sick. Immortality was revealed, and the energy of immortality was present. But when the golden calf was built, that was lost. But energy is never lost. So the energy of immortality still exists, but you have to know how to tap into it. And through the teachings of Kabbalah, a person can do that. So, welcome. For those of you who are new to the program, we are here every Tuesday and Wednesday night from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern. So that's 8 to 10 p.m. in Jamaica. And on Tuesday nights, we break at 10:30 Eastern, and we broadcast the 30-minute Zohar reading that is established by the Kabbalah Center, sponsored by the Kabbalah Center. 30 minutes, we read 30 minutes of Zohar dedicated to Jamaica. What does it mean, 30 minutes of Zohar reading dedicated to Jamaica? The Zohar is the principal text of Kabbalah and has been given to us as a supplement to the Torah. It was revealed to the sage known as Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, which was a reincarnation of Moses. Revealed to Rabbi Shimon to accompany the Torah, to help us to understand and to decipher the words of Torah, because Kabbalah teaches that the Torah is completely encoded. Completely encoded. And without the Zohar, we cannot truly understand what the Torah is saying, nor can we tap into its energy. Because the Torah was given for us to be able to tap into its energy. The Hebrew letters, the 22 Hebrew letters, were uniquely designed to transmit light force energy. Yes, the Hebrew letters, the 22 Hebrew letters, are uniquely designed to transmit light force energy. So the Creator, in his infinite wisdom, wrote down these stories and wisdom using the 22 Hebrew letters in the form of stories and history and wisdom, so that when we read it in its original form in in Hebrew, when we read it, we can connect to the energy that is contained in the letters. Now, you may be hearing this for the first time, and that's okay. But that is what the teachings of Kabbalah are all about. Kabbalah is not a religion, my friends. It is a science, spiritual science. And these are the things that you'll be hearing here. Now, for those of you who have been listening, you've heard me talk about riding the wave. Well, what does that mean? Riding the wave of energy. What energy? The energy that comes to us through the cosmos. For instance, like I said, starting last week, Thursday, was a 22-day period by which we can draw down energy. It begins with the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, where we blow the shofar horn, which is a tool given to us by the Creator to help us to connect to the energy of the upper worlds, energy that will help to transform us, energy that helps to cleanse us. Rosh Hashanah is the 6th day of creation, and it is the birth of mankind. It was the birthday, the 6th day of creation, the birthday of Adam and Eve. 10 days from Rosh Hashanah is Yom Kippur. It's a day of fasting, and we're going to be hearing some lectures about that tonight, because that begins Friday night, this Friday night, into Saturday. And it is another station, another station within the 22 days whereby we can connect to energy, draw down energy through fasting for the entire year. And then 5 days after that is Sukkot, where the Creator instructs Israel to build booths or huts and live in it for 7 days. We'll play lectures to help you to understand the secrets behind that time, that cosmic opening. After next week, Tuesday, we'll talk about that. Actually, let me see. When is Sukkot? Let's see. Sukkot is the first day of Sukkot is the 17th, actually. Yes, the 17th, so that's Thursday, October 17th. So next week, Tuesday, I'll be playing, Tuesday and Wednesday, I'll play lectures to help you to understand the secrets of Sukkot and what things you can tap into during that period of time. Yes? So again, the teachings of Kabbalah are a science. It is not a religion. And Jesus of Nazareth, or I should say Yeshua, I like to use his proper name, Yeshua, was a Kabbalist. And he taught his disciples Kabbalah. But you wouldn't know that reading the New Testament. Because there are those who are intent is to mislead and to not give the truth. I was reading a documentary the other day on Amazon Prime that talked about the origins of the Christian church and how King Henry VIII broke away from Rome, right, and formed the Church of England because he wanted to divorce his wife, and the Pope told him that he couldn't, and that he wrote his own Bible. And then King James, right, came around and wrote his version. So what you have are different interpretations, different translations that do not give the proper meaning of the wisdom. In fact, I'll tell you the truth, there's no need for a New Testament. You know, I appreciate Christianity for what it has done, which is to create a holding place for people. Because who knows? You know, there's a debate between people who say that if there was no Christianity, what would have people have been following? Maybe Judaism. But you see, Yeshua, people think that Jesus came to start something new. And he did not. He came to restore that which was lost and to give people a new understanding of that which was the Old Testament, the teaching and the wisdom of the Old Testament. He didn't come to start something new, because every time the Jews came to him and questioned him about the law, he said, what does the law of Moses say? So he was a follower of the law of Moses. He didn't come to start something new. And I tell you the truth, it's only when I started studying Kabbalah, which is 16 years ago, that I really began to truly understand his teachings. And what he meant by when he said, no man cometh to the Father but by me. He wasn't trying to make himself the focal point. He was channeling the central column of the tree of life, Zer and Pin, which is the sixth Sphirot. In fact, the 6 edges of the Star of David, the Magen, which is shield, the proper name of that structure is called the Magen of David. Magen means shield. The 6 points specifically reference and speak to the 6 levels within the central part of the tree of life. The 3 up top, Keter, Chokmah, and Bina, which is considered to be the upper worlds. Zer and Pin, which is Hesed, Givura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, and Yasod. Right? The 6 points of the Magen. And then the last point at the bottom is Malhut, which is the world of physicality, which is where we live. Everything above that is ethereal or spiritual, non-physical. The only place where physicality exists is in the last sphere, the last level, the 10th level, known as Malhut, the world of physicality. These are the things that when you start to learn Kabbalah, these are the things that you must learn, you must understand, because by understanding these things, you are understanding the flow of energy and how to be able to control it. Because that was God's intention for mankind. What did he say to Adam? Be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, and have dominion over everything and all energies. But because we have lost that wisdom, because we have adopted a watered down wisdom, that is why there is so much chaos in the world. Because if you truly understand the wisdom, you will have peace in your heart. And that is why the spreading of the Zohar is so important, because the Zohar, which is written in Aramaic, is a derivative of Hebrew, the same Hebrew letters. It comes from a higher level within the tree of life. It comes from the level known as Binah. And the Zohar itself tells us that Aramaic cannot be interfered with by negative angels. So it is a more direct connection to the upper worlds, a more direct connection to the energy force that can transform us. Friends, those who have an ear to hear, let them hear. I am not here to dispute people's beliefs. I'm here to give you the wisdom of Kabbalah as I have learned it, and to play for you lectures that you can hear it for yourself. So like I said, we're in this 22-day period, and tonight we're going to hear lectures about Yom Kippur, which is the next level, the next stage in the 22-day period. We just passed through Rosh Hashanah. And now we're going to talk about and enter into Yom Kippur. Knowledge is the key, my friends. The more you know is the better opportunity you have to connect to the energy. It's like it says in Genesis 1, that might be Genesis 2, Adam knew Eve, and she bore him sons. Actually, sons and daughters. Because one of the things that the Bible doesn't tell you is that when Eve gave birth, she gave birth to male and female. Just like how Adam was created male and female. She gave birth to Cain, who came out with a twin sister. And Abel came out actually with two twin sisters. And as the Midrash, which is the stories behind the stories, tell us, one of the reasons why Cain killed his brother Abel is because he was jealous of him. He had two sisters, or two wives as it were. So when he killed his brother, he took his two sisters, and now he had three wives. Yeah, again, growing up as a Christian, you wouldn't have learned about these things. I only found out about them after I started studying Kabbalah. We have to thank the Israelites, we have to thank the Jews for the body of wisdom that became the foundations of Christianity. Remember, Yeshua, Jesus of Nazareth, was a Jew. He was an Israelite from the tribe of Judah. So I heard somebody say the other day, but if Jesus was a Jew or an Israelite, why aren't his followers becoming Israelites as well? And that's a very good question. A very good question, because I tell you, for me, when I started studying Kabbalah, right, I started to adopt the Israelite way. I began to adopt the Israelite ways, because that is the ways that the Creator taught us to live in the Old Testament. Now, I may have a different culture, okay, Jamaican culture, but the ways of the Torah are beyond, they transcend culture. Yes? I'm not going to eat gefilte fish, but I'm going to eat matzah during Passover because it says to eat unleavened bread for 7 days. And even as a young Christian, I was doing that because I was an Old Testament student. It's unfortunate that most Christians today don't know the Old Testament. In fact, there were some Christians that I speak to and I say, you know, Jesus was a Jew. And they say, what? They're surprised. They didn't know that. But it just goes to show you the level of ignorance, okay, that exists. The level of not knowing the truth or the facts. Because they go to church and they listen to what pastor say. And they don't really study on their own to understand certain things. So I'm thankful that the Creator put it within me to do so, and I'm able to share with you, for those who have an ear to hear. So, so let me go into, without further ado, let me go into a few of these lectures. And first I want to give thanks to and homage to the Kabbalah Center, Rav Berg, and the lineage of Kabbalists, Rav Brandwein, his teacher, Rav Ashlag, his teacher, the Rav and Karen, who were the spiritual directors of the Kabbalah Center, of which I've been a student for the last 16 years in New York City. I have to thank them and my teachers for the environment that they've created, whereby people can come and study and practice. Yes, and gain understanding of the truth that endures, and how to be a channel for the world at large. You know, it was only when I started studying Kabbalah 16 years ago that I really began to understand prayer and truly taking on the responsibility of the world. Because now, when I don't pray, okay, I feel as if I'm letting down the world. Because when I do pray, I am using myself as a channel to draw down light energy to help the world. Not just myself, but the entire world. And I only began to understand that through the teachings of Kabbalah. And how the Kabbalists, the students of Kabbalah, feels responsible for the world. Because they understand that their actions can make a difference in the world. You see, whereas the Christians are waiting to die to go to heaven, the Kabbalists wants to stay and make a difference, and to make the world the paradise that it was intended to be. Right? In fact, Kabbalah teaches that the Kabbalists, the person who studies Kabbalah, the person who lives by the three-column system, should consider the world as being made only for him or her. What does that mean? It means that you are responsible. Physics teaches us, quantum physics teaches us, you know, they've coined something called the butterfly effect. What does that mean? It means that the butterfly can flap its wings in New York and cause a tsunami in Tokyo. Right? So, if we believe that we're all connected, and that the only illusion is our skin, because if you scrape off the top layer of skin, what color are we? We're all the same color, blue. Because blood is blue until it hits oxygen and turns red. Right? So, we're all the same. We all would look the same once we take off the top layer of skin. So what does that tell us? And what does it tell us when science has told us that our eyes see things upside down initially, and that the brain has to turn it right side up? What do you think the creator did it that way? And I can imagine, you know, I envision the creator laughing and saying, you know, when he set up the olfactory nerves, the eyes, right? The optical nerves, you know, and the whole vision thing. I can imagine him laughing and say to himself, why? I wonder how long it's going to take them to figure this one out. Right? Imagine why. Why was it necessary for the brain to turn the image right side up? So, to tell us that, you know what we're seeing, or what we think we're seeing, is not necessarily so. That's right. What we're seeing is not necessarily so. So, but tonight is all about preparation for, tonight and tomorrow night is all about preparation for Yom Kippur. Because the more knowledge you have, is the better your chances of connecting to the energy, so that you can really truly benefit from it. Yes? So I'm going to play a lecture from Rav Berg, who, again, like I said, was the spiritual director of the Kabbalah Center. And yeah, so this one is 14 minutes long. And then after that, I'll play one that is about 2.5 minutes. But this one here first, and then there will be another more complete lecture, a little bit more, or I should say less, more in layman's terms, maybe, that, you know, hopefully you'll understand a lot more. So here is Rav Berg in a 15-minute lecture on Yom Kippur.
On Yom Kippur, we connect with the light of Bina, the energy storehouse for our universe. Join the Rav as he reveals the consciousness of what takes place on Yom Kippur.
There is such a thing called vessel and such a thing called light. So after Tzimtzum down to our world, throughout the year when we eat and make the brachot, the maximum that we can achieve is making connections with the vessel, not with the internal aspect of Bina, but the Ari says only from Chitzoniyot, only from its external. Avo b'yom kippurim, yesh l'nukva d'zerem pen shehir achel, ilui yetera bebeit b'chinat. In other words, we're only connecting throughout the year to the external aspect, which is metaphysical, which is incidentally the only aspect that can nourish the body. It is still only something of a temporary nature, because the vessel is not the light. So throughout the year, he's saying that when we eat, we have to eat again and again and again. If we are actually connecting to the world of reality by our eating with a blessing, then why do we have to keep eating over and over again? If we're connecting constantly with the world of reality, which is the 99%, why do we have to continually eat? In other words, the Gemara says you can't go more than 3 days straight without eating or drinking, without having a negative effect. So it is only because we are connecting with the external aspect of Bina. Ava b'yom kippurim, we are connecting with both the external and the internal. Im be'inya mitziyot ilui achila v'shtiya ba'asma, v'im b'bchinat makom motza'on. But in any event, we connect on Yom Kippur with the internal. Why on Yom Kippur? In fact, we're not eating. On Yom Kippur, we're not eating. And yet, we're connecting not only to the external aspect of the food like we do a whole year with the bracha when we eat. Here on Yom Kippur, we are fasting. We are connecting to what? To the internal aspect. By not eating. How do we understand that? Because that, in essence, is the reason why we can, by fasting on Yom Kippur, connect to the internal aspect. Because throughout the year, the body and the physical material of the fruit, despite the fact that through a bracha, I can connect to the internal aspect of the fruit, but you can't disregard the physical aspect. It's there. So to the extent that it makes its presence felt, to that extent, we cannot connect to the internal aspect of the food. Only to the external metaphysical aspect of the food. A whole year we eat through the bracha. We make the bracha. By eating with a bracha, he says we connect to Imei Yilai. We connect to the aspect, the world of reality. But what the world of reality? The vessel aspect of the world of reality, not the internal. On Yom Kippur, he says, by not eating, we are connecting to the internal aspect. Because we have to eat throughout the year, therefore the physical nature of that food is involved, as much as we're raising above the level of the physical food, but nevertheless its presence in this world is still a reality. It's an illusionary reality, but it still exists. That prevents us from achieving a connection with the internal aspect of Bina, the internal aspect of the food. But on Yom Kippur, something special is happening. Because on Yom Kippur, the aspect of Pnimiut, or the interior aspect of Bina, is revealed. In fact, the only way we can stop the connection to the interior aspect of Bina is by eating. Why do we say that on Yom Kippur is when we get the Gemar of Chatima of Chaim? Because whereas Rosh Hashanah, until Yom Kippur, we're preparing the vessel. On Yom Kippur, those whose vessels are prepared can now make the connection to the interior aspect, which is the world of reality, unadulterated, without this mixture of physical. Even the physical aspect of Binah prevents a totality of life. It's only a kind of a temporary thing. You have to eat today, you've got to eat tomorrow, and so on. But on Yom Kippur, when we're not eating, the aspect of pure raw energy is available. The only problem there would be if you're prepared to handle that kind of energy. On Yom Kippur, the raw energy is flowing. Whether we observe Yom Kippur or we don't observe Yom Kippur, the cosmic effect of Yom Kippur exists. It doesn't change. Whether I'm prepared or I'm not prepared, it's going to flow. On Yom Kippur, Malchut, meaning ourselves, are restored to the position of creation, just like before Adam's sin. Adam drew energy directly. That's why Adam would live forever. There would be no death, because he drew and he was protected. The energy wouldn't burn him out. He was totally connected. This process is repeated each and every single year. From Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah, this is the period that we are to become energized. Yom Kippur is where Ze'ir Anpin no longer is this kind of protective covering over this raw, naked energy called Bina. In other words, on Yom Kippur, we are exposed directly to this energy, and we have to be exposed directly to this energy, because if we weren't, we would not have the opportunity for a full year of life and everything else that would be necessary. We must be restored to the level of Adam Rishon, where there would be no defilement, no step down of that energy. Any step down would mean that the year has to be a step down. Reduced energy means that klipot can set in, everything else can set in. It would be inevitable that we must suffer throughout the year. The purpose of the Creator was to make manifest His energy so that people should not have to suffer. Yet most people suffer. You ask why? Because the proper connection with Yom Kippur has not been made. Yom Kippur means the revelation of Bina on that day, whether you're prepared for it or whether you're not prepared for it. It'll come in, because that is the purpose of Yom Kippur. Or not, the person has to die. If he doesn't get a resurgence of energy, then what will keep it from going one more year? The only difference of observing or not observing, of fasting or not fasting, is the extent of preparing the vessel and handling this kind of energy. Because the more the desire to receive for oneself alone is involved, in other words, what's the problem of eating? The physical body is being stimulated. The physical body's presence is being felt. Now that is completely diametrically opposed to the energy. What is energy? Energy has one characteristic: sharing. If I become involved with the body, and we know the internal energy intelligence of the body is only one aspect, the desire to receive for oneself alone. Here are two energy intelligences that are opposed to each other. Therefore, the Torah advised us not to eat on Yom Kippur, to do as many aspects of deprivation where the body is not stimulated to the extent that it feels that it exists. That's the purpose. Whereas someone who is stimulating his body through any of these five aspects, in essence, he's creating a dissimilarity, a disharmony with the light. Now we understand why Yom Kippur is called Shabbat Shabbaton, because just like in Shabbat, to be able to connect with that kind of energy, which is only through the Irampin as well, but nevertheless, we are automatically raised to another frame of reference. Yom Kippur is called Shabbat to also give us an idea of what's happening. In other words, we're going out of the realm of Malchut, we're going straight up to, in this case, Bina. On Shabbat, we still do not achieve a connection with Bina. It's still through Ze'ir Anpin. It's just that on Shabbat, we have raised our level of consciousness to a higher level than Malchut, and therefore Malchut does not interfere with this drawing of energy on Shabbat, and so we're connected, but not to the extent of being connected without Ze'ir Anpin. We still have Ze'ir Anpin acting as an intermediary between the raw, naked energy and ourselves. But on Yom Kippur, we've achieved an elevation to Bina. Every time Shabbat becomes intermingled with a holiday, it's like we say on Rosh Hashanah. If the first day of Rosh Hashanah was on Shabbat, we wouldn't have to blow, because already we've been raised to an elevated state of consciousness by virtue of the Shabbat. The Shabbat handles the aspect of the shofar. Why do we need the Tikiyat shofar? We said on Rosh Hashanah, because This is our weapon that nullifies and cancels out the Satan. All of those roadblocks to getting to Binah on Yom Kippur. Those are the roadblocks. Come Shabbat, and we learned in the Zohar that this one star comes and cancels and nullifies out all of these Satans that are in existence. Therefore, we don't have to blow. The Shabbat is doing the job for us if we do it properly. On Shabbat, even if we would fast, we would still not make that connection with the raw energy of Binah because it is still concealed. Even on Shabbat, it's concealed. The only connection we can make with Binah is via the intermediaries of Zeir Anpin and so forth. We cannot make that connection as we do on Yom Kippur. This has got to last the whole year. And the only way it can last the whole year is if you make that direct connection. If you made the same connection like you would on Shabbat, it was called Shabbat Shabbaton. There's two aspects. The aspect of the 6 days of receiving energy that will last you for the next 6 days, that kind of energy that must suffice for the whole year. It has both qualities, whereas Shabbat does not have these two qualities. Air goes out of the mouth. When you blow, if you put your hand up to that blowing, you feel something. But what is it? Is there a vessel? If there were a vessel, it wouldn't dissipate. It wouldn't just become part of the external atmosphere. Is that right? When you blow, there must be a force there of energy and vessel for it to become revealed. And yet, in a matter of seconds, it already disappears. How do we understand that? Obviously, there must be some form of a vessel. But this is as close as we can get to the idea of Binah in its raw, naked energy state. It has a vessel, and it doesn't have a vessel. That's the best that the Ari says we can try to grasp an understanding of what's happening. He wants to make this impression upon us that Yom Kippur is relating to a raw, naked energy which does not have the chitzoniyot. Like a Shabbat, you have that kind of energy, but it's concealed. It has a vessel, and therefore it will only last 6 days because it has become limited by its revelation through a vessel. But on Yom Kippur, for it to have the effect of lasting throughout the whole year, it's got to be a revelation of almost without a vessel. How could you have energy revealed without a vessel? So he says the only close physical concept that would resemble what we're talking about is air flowing out of the mouth. And therefore he leads into the aspect of the Hate Tfilot. Why do we have to pray on Yom Kippur? What are the prayers actually? The prayers are forms of hevel, breath. So these 5 tefillot, and why are there 5? That means there is Arvit at night, Shachrit in the morning, then Musaf, and then Minha, Nila, and Arvit. You have these 5 forms of hevel. 5 forms of hevel. This, he says, is Keneged Hei Dvarim. This is in relation to the 5 things that were prohibited on Yom Kippur. Now, why do we have to have 5 tefillot? Why not 1? Because these 5 that we were discussing take in almost everything, that the body can derive some form of physical pleasure. Sleeping is not a form of pleasure for the body. As long as the physical body hasn't come to a point where it ceases operations like in sleep, to permit the soul to get a recharge, if that soul doesn't get the recharge, the body or the individual feels as if he's not at rest. Without a vessel, there is no revelation. Even in breath, there must be a vessel there, or not. When I blow it, my finger, I shouldn't feel it. The reason I feel it, because it's contained in whatever vessel you want to call breath. Right? So there is that form of vessel. Therefore, he's saying we need Hei Tefillot. Here we want no roadblock. We want a total affinity. Total affinity, but wait a second. To become manifest, you need some form of a vessel. This is what bothered the Ari, and therefore he came to the conclusion that the 5 tefillot act, in a sense, as the vessel.
To learn more about how to connect with the energy of Binah on Yom Kippur, read Days of Power Part 1 by Rav Berg.
So, pretty high stuff, huh? Yom Kippur. Here's another quick lecture from the Rav. Less than 3 minutes. This is from 1987.
On Yom Kippur, to ensure that we have a year of total happiness, total briut, total good health, there is no choice but to connect directly to the source of energy. When the body becomes fully energized as it should, then it has that amount of energy which lasts always for 1 year. This process is repeated each and every single year. From Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah, this is the period that we are to become energized. Reduced energy means that klipot can set in, everything else can set in. It would be inevitable that we must suffer throughout the year. And the purpose of Yom Kippur, the purpose of the Creator was to make manifest His energy so that people should not have to suffer. This is what Yom Kippur means. It means the revelation of Bina on that day, whether you're prepared for it or whether you're not prepared for it. The only difference of observing or not observing, of fasting or not fasting, is the extent of preparing the vessel and handling this kind of energy. Because the more the desire to receive for oneself alone is involved, in other words, if you eat, what's the problem of eating? Is it a religious right not to eat on Yom Kippur? No. What is energy? Energy has one characteristic: sharing. If I become involved, to whatever extent I become involved with the body, and then we know the internal.
This is actually an excerpt of what you just heard. So, all right. So, this next lecture is. Let's see, it's 10. Wow. So I'll only be able to play half hour of this. We'll continue the rest of it tomorrow. This one is 57 minutes long, but this is really good. All right, so listen up.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the third part of the 22 Days of Transformation series. We got a lot of information, deep information to share with you tonight, hopefully practical, relevant, and funny as well, just to keep you entertained and focused. Before we start tonight, I just want to take a moment, and I want each one of you in your seat, if you're at home as well, flat, take your feet, put them flat on the ground, uncross your hands or legs, and just take a moment and close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, I want you to try to envision or try to imagine what it would be like if you were infinitely fulfilled. We're not talking about, a little bit better salary, a girlfriend that won't argue back. We're talking about infinite fulfillment. What would that look like? How would that translate for you into your life? Is it something that is even possible to think about? Is it something that is even possible to grasp? So you can take a moment now, you can open your eyes. And when we think about the idea and the concept of infinite fulfillment, it's very difficult to apply it into our life because what we know as fulfillment is always what we believe will be more than what we have right now. So if I have a job and I'm making $45,000 a year, when I'm saying infinite, I'm not thinking millions, billions, even trillions. I'm thinking, what's my next level? That's more for me. But when we're talking about the Creator, and it's oftentimes very hard for us to even understand what the Creator is trying to give or to share with us, because the Creator wants to give us infinitely. And we're going to see it's a theme of Yom Kippur, this infinite energy of life, this infinite energy of abundance, this infinite energy of giving. You know, oftentimes we, let's say, use our phone and we have an app. And we're using it, let's say it's a counting calories app, some of the things that's on my homepage. So you're counting your calories, and you think to yourself, oh my God, I wish I could have this thing, I wish I could have that thing, I wish I could do this. Very often we're thinking about our experience of the app as the user. Does that make sense? Most of us, when we use an app, we're thinking about it as someone that uses the app and is looking to receive a maximum benefit from it. But very seldom do we think about what went into the creator's mind to create that app the way that they did. The only time we think about what's in the creator's mind is when we think we could do it better. We can create the app better, it can have a different perk. When we're talking about our life and what the creator wants to give us, oftentimes we look at our life and we are talking about the user experience, not the creation that the creator has set up for us. So what's inspired me tremendously about tonight's class is that we're going to discuss what's going on in the cosmos on Yom Kippur, which is one of these powerful days that ultimately will determine our year. But not only what's going on in the cosmos, that the creator set up into the user interface of this world to be able to benefit us when we go through a challenge, when we fall, when we stumble, that there's always a system that picks us back up. So as I'm discussing and explaining the different things that are taking place in the cosmos in this time, try and picture and try and envision what we're getting is not the user interface. It's not what we experience on a daily basis, but it's what the Creator intended for us. And hopefully tonight's session, besides for the fact that it will give you a deeper understanding of Yom Kippur, it can give you a deeper understanding for how much love the Creator has for each one of us. And as a result, the system He created for us to live a perfect life, full of harmony, full of blessings. Okay, so let's jump right in and let's talk about traditionally what is described about Yom Kippur. When we talk about the 22 days of transformation, David spoke about the first 30 days of Virgo. Last week we spoke about the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. And today we're focusing our intention on Yom Kippur, which is actually the 10th day of Libra. So we're going to read straight from the Bible. So it says, "Howbeit on the 10th day of this 7th month is the day of atonement. There shall be a holy convocation unto you, and you shall afflict your souls, and you shall bring an offering made by fire unto God. And you shall do no matter of work in that same day, for it is a day of atonement, to make atonement before Hashem your God." So when we turn to the Bible, this is what is described when it speaks about Yom Kippur, or the 10th day of Libra. And as a result, the sages implemented some customs, which we're going to hopefully have a deeper understanding of tonight. The first, people feast the day before Yom Kippur. It's actually said that the day before Yom Kippur, you should eat double than you would normally eat on a regular day. And it's considered, the double portion that you're eating is actually considered as if you're fasting. So that doesn't get added to the calories on the calorie app. You should eat double, which is an interesting thing. I'm pretty sure in every other section of the Bible, it doesn't say eat double. Why specifically on the 9th day of Yom Kippur? Something to think about. And on the 10th day on Yom Kippur, people all over the world, they gather and attend synagogues, whereas some of those people would never attend a synagogue on any other day of the year, specifically Yom Kippur. Why? Why? On that day, people make atonement for all the sins of the previous year. And if you actually attend a Yom Kippur service, there's literally many, many prayers, but there's many different things that we say. I made a mistake by doing this. I made a mistake by literally covering every possible wrongdoing you could have done. Why? Does the Creator want us to feel bad about what we've done throughout the entire year? There's a secret here. And ultimately, we afflict the body, as it's said in the Bible, by not eating, drinking, washing, having marital relations, or wearing leather shoes. These are some of the customs that were put in place on Yom Kippur based on what the Creator told us to do on that day. Now, they seem a little bit far-fetched and a little bit out of the ordinary. So when we have a difficulty with the Bible, what we usually do is turn to the Zohar. The Zohar is going to be the decoder of the Bible tonight. So let's turn to the Zohar section on Yom Kippur. It says, later, on the 9th of the month, the queen comes and the palace retinue, namely the people, make merry and immerse themselves in the river to purify themselves so as to be worthy of the union of the queen. On the other day, namely on Yom Kippur, then on the 10th day, Israel fast for the sins and are forgiven. For supernal Ima, namely Binah, looks kindly on Malchut in the union. For on Yom Kippur, Malchut rises and coats Binah and makes atonement for all the retinue of the palace, namely the people. Thank you so much for coming. It's really clear and easy to understand, right? We turn to the Zohar to decode the Bible, but now we're going to learn a couple of secrets that are going to hopefully help us to make some sense of what's written there. Because if you look at the words in red, all of them are codes. All of them are things that we're going to mention and come back to, because the Zohar is trying to tell us what is going on in the cosmos on that day. Okay? So before we can understand what's going on in the cosmos on Yom Kippur, we need to do just a quick recap of what happens on Rosh Hashanah. Does everybody remember these three? Binah represents the energy store. Zeranpin represents, it's written there, the buffer. Malchut represents our reality. And in a normal day, other than Yom Kippur, this is exactly how things take place in our life. Binah is the source. We do something in Malchut, whether it be something positive that reveals energy, or something negative that will start to draw energy of judgment into my life. And what happens? The energy flows from here, straight from the energy source into a buffer, right? We said the buffer last week is time. We do something beautiful and amazing for somebody else. We make them smile. And as a result, into the system, into the buffer goes some of our blessings. And ultimately, at some point, we're going to receive it. And the same thing for our negativity. If we do something negative, it goes into the buffer. Time takes place. And eventually, we experience the effect of the action that we just caused. So this is how it takes place during the year. Each state has energy of mercy and energy of judgment. So we said on Rosh Hashanah, Zeranpin, the buffer, goes to sleep. The judgments get transferred to Binah. Binah then says, I can't handle the impurity of the judgments, so I'm going to push it to Malchut. And as a result, all of the judgments, and we explained last week, and it's important to keep it in mind because it's the main focus of Rosh Hashanah all the way till Yom Kippur, which is the left column. What are the judgments? There are times in our life where we act from the desire to receive for the self alone. Desire to receive for the self alone, where we grab energy from the universe. We got into a conflict with somebody, and as a result, we yell. Why? The desire to receive for the self alone was hurt. Things weren't going my way. As a result, I yell, I draw energy, I feel powerful and strong, and I bring that energy to the side of the opponent because I yelled and I was reactive. And now that energy is gone. Ultimately, what I need to do is get that energy back. Bring it back to the side of the light before what? Before I experience some sort of judgment for it. Is everybody with me so far? So on Rosh Hashanah, what happens? And it starts in the month of Virgo, all of our judgments, all of our desires to receive for the self alone that leads to all the potential chaos in my life, gets gathered into the storehouse called Malchut. And this is where we left last week. We said the shofar ultimately does some sweetening of the judgment, starts to wake up the energy of Zer and Pin, but it starts to sweeten the judgment and starts to transform our desire to receive for the self alone just into desire, and then we can use it in the proper way. Desire, when used in the proper way, is the vehicle that all of us are going to bring peace to this world. Each one of us has a different desire, which is a different part of the puzzle that the Creator will use to draw light to this world. When we use it the right way, we will become lighthouses, and this world will express and show only peace. So the shofar starts to switch the desire to receive for the self alone just into desire, which is the strongest conduit for light. What I didn't mention last week, because it was far beyond the scope of last week's class, is that this doesn't only happen on the first and second day of Libra, which are the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. This is actually a 10-day process. It's a 10-day process. Ultimately, Yom Kippur is on the 10th day. And the Kabbalists ask, why 10? What's so powerful about the number 10? Kabbalistically, 10 represents completion. 10 represents a complete spiritual structure. So when you see this tree of life, know that it's connecting to completion. So when we're talking about complete energy of mercy, it comes in 10 different frames. When we talk about levels of the judgment or the negativity or the desire to receive for the self alone that we have, when we talk about that and that aspect that we want to remove, it comes in 10 different parts. So we don't only want to remove 10% of our negativity or 10% of the judgment that's going to be coming towards us or 10% of the desire to receive for the self alone. The Kabbalists explain we want to eradicate the desire to receive for the self alone so we can have a next year full of joy, happiness, fulfillment, infinite. So in order to deal with the proper energy of removing all the negativity and removing all the judgment, it needs to be happening in a process of 10. So when you see this process of Zer and Pin going to sleep and the judgments being transferred, this happens 10 times. Each time for a different frame of reference, a different level of negativity that we might have revealed throughout our life or throughout the past year. Is everybody with me so far? So it looks something like this. Every day, a different level of judgment. Every day, a different level of desire to receive gets drawn down into this aspect called Malchut. So last week we said it was one thing that happens on Rosh Hashanah, all the judgments comes. That's why it's the day of judgment. But so you know, it takes place over all the 10 days of repentance. Day 1 is removing keter of my desire to receive for the self alone. Day 2 is removing chokhmah of my desire to receive for the self alone, and so on and so forth, all the way until Malchut, which is Yom Kippur, which is Malchut of Malchut, where we completely eradicate the desire to receive for the self alone. It all comes into Malchut. And then Malchut becomes really fat with judgment. What the Rav is explaining is that anytime someone takes an action that's from the desire to receive for the self alone. So for example, I want to open a business, but it's not to bring any sort of light or goodness to the world. I just want to make as much money as possible. Desire to receive for the self alone or sharing? What would be the same intention, same action, but with a different desire? Make it a win-win. What does that mean? I want to bring the energy of making jet skis. Just came. Making jet skis. I want people to enjoy the water. So I'm going to make jet skis. But I want to do it so that everybody enjoys, not so I only make money, right? That's the thought, the desire to receive. Desire to receive for the self alone comes somewhere down the line where I'm making the jet skis and someone brings up to me in my mind that there's a cheap way to make the engine. It's cheaper. It's going to save us lots of money. But there's also a chance that it will malfunction and it will explode while someone's on it. Then the desire to receive is tested, and we say, you know what? Do the cheaper one. What happens? Desire to receive for the self alone. Then we create almost like a hot energy, and Satan, that's just our normal view of him. That's not what the Kabbalists explain the opponents are. This is just so that we can kind of be on the same page. Satan, or the opponent, as a result of that negative heat-seeking energy, he fires and launches a heat-seeking missile. Now, wherever we go, if we move to Los Angeles or New York or Australia, it doesn't matter based on our location or our coordinates. It's based on that action. If that action is still with me, that missile or that effect of the action that I took will ultimately find me. Is everybody with me? So what we're doing essentially on these days of Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur, in these 10 days, we're gathering all of these things that we missed in our introspection in Virgo. I'm assuming all of you are doing the introspection. It's not just like, all right, Yom Kippur, I'm going to fast a couple of days, all these heat-seeking missiles going to be gone, Satan, you can go on vacation. It's not how it works. There's a process that goes on, and we need to be involved in that process. But what happens, in essence, this negativity is what gives Satan access into my life. How does the opponent have access into my life? The Creator is an infinite force of goodness. Only when we act from the desire to receive for the self alone, then he establishes a missile or an effect that will ultimately come back to us. And this is how Satan's armada works. Besides the fact that the Zohar and the Rav explains that Satan is not hot, Satan is cold. A body without a soul is cold. Even if it dies near the equator, the body loses its energy, it loses its heat. So just for the sake of the example, we're saying the desire to receive for the self alone is hot, but really Satan and the negative side represents the energy of cold. But for today's example, it's the heat-seeking missile, and what we're trying to do is create a year free of these heat-seeking missiles, right? We all want that. So essentially what happens on these 10 days is that it all gets gathered up into Malchut so we can ultimately deal with those desire to receives that will ultimately draw chaos into our next year. What happens on Yom Kippur? It's not just the final transferring of judgments into our reality. There's an elevation that happens on Yom Kippur. Malchut gets elevated. Where does it go? Remember, Zeranpin, it's sleeping. Remember, the whole process that took for the 10 days, it takes place all 10 of those days. So Zeranpin is still sleeping. What happens? Zeranpin's asleep. So where does Malchut elevate to? Malchut goes into Binah. Remember what we said Binah is, what Binah represents. It's the energy store. It's known as the supernal mother, or the queen, which we're going to make reference to in a moment. But what is Binah? It's the energy of unlimited life and infinite levels of fulfillment. And the Rav was very clear about what happens on Rosh Hashanah, on Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is the day, the 10th day of Libra, is where we are receiving the sufficient life and fulfillment that we need for the coming year, to have the most joyous and pain and chaos-free life. What's difficult for us to comprehend, as we mentioned earlier, is what does it mean to connect to infinite light? What does it mean, infinite blessings? Well, the first thing we're going to keep in mind is the byproduct of creating a life full of energy, full of goodness, and full of fulfillment means what? That we are going to need to sweeten some of those desire to receive for the self alone. And that's what Binah does when the energy of Malchut goes up. It acts as almost like a spiritual washing machine. And it says, you know what? You need an infinite energy of life. You need infinite energy of blessings and fulfillment. So I can't have you have all these heat-seeking missiles that give Satan permission to enter into your life. So the energy of Binah says, all right, you did your work in Virgo. You started to look for any of the judgments internally. You started to look for those desire to receives that are creating negativity in your life and the world. And now the Creator is going to create a system and a byproduct by which we can benefit by removing the desire to receive for the self alone, by cleansing our desire to receive for the self alone, and ultimately creating an abundant and a fulfilled year. Just think about that for a moment. Just think about that for a moment. The Creator creates humanity, us, the users. We can use the app in the best way. We can use the app in a chaotic way. We have free will. That's part of what He gave to humanity. When we decide that we're going to wreak havoc on this world by acting with our desire to receive, or being selfish, or being reactive, everything we learn in Kabbalah 1, 2, and 3, when we're reactive, what happens? We accumulate all this energy and this residue that will limit us from bringing our light to the world and also limit us from being fulfilled. So the Creator creates one time a year where all that system, all those blockages, the things that are weighing us down, can be removed off of our shoulders so that we can create a new year where we're bringing light and fulfillment and joy to the world and experiencing it as well. It's what the Creator imbued into the framework of this universe. Because if we had years and years of baggage, it would be very difficult to connect to the voice of our soul. The fact that you can hear the voice of your soul, the fact that you're sitting here, the fact that you're doing spiritual work and transforming, even attracted to spirituality in the first place, is because cosmically, whether you're at an event of Yom Kippur or not, the world and the universe goes through this reset button, so that we can continue to have the free will to choose to bring life to this world. But for me, when I studied that and I understood what happens, all the judgments get accumulated. And then what happens when it's all here? Are we going to receive the punishment and the suffering? Do we judge ourselves? Do we not love ourselves? No. The Creator then elevates it, and it's a process, by the way. Direct connection to Binah always will come with a byproduct. Like there's something that's going to happen. And we're going to explain what we do on this day to really channel that energy in the right way. There's always a byproduct for direct connection. But nonetheless, the Creator set up this system so that we can continue to access and manifest our potential so that our heaviness doesn't weigh us down. You had a question? So when we say, by the way, washing machine, Binah,
Right.
the washing machine is a byproduct, as the energy of Binah is known as infinite life, infinite fulfillment. If we want to have infinite life and infinite fulfillment, we can't carry in our judgments. So what happens with Binah is it washes away the judgments so that we can connect to infinite life. And it happens only on Yom Kippur. Throughout the year, we cannot access Binah. We're going to see in a moment how we do actually access Binah, but not in the same way, doing the same things as it does in this time. So, what happens when we make a direct connection? As soon as we know that, right? What happens? Zeranpin was created so that there could be a buffer in between Malchut and Binah. When we have a direct connection of light, usually, not today, not on Yom Kippur, but usually it's a short circuit. Usually it's an intense amount of energy, lots of light, and then a crash. But let's understand the framework of how energy is transferred into this world so we can understand how we bypass that system on Yom Kippur. So the Rav explains this tree of life, very similar to the power station, the light or the Creator being the power station, and us in our life being the outlets. So we can't take a phone, which needs a very little amount of light, and plug it into the outlet. What will happen? It will explode. So what happens is that there are different transformations where the light goes from an intense amount of revelation, which for the vessel would be way too much, and starts to decrease its amount of revelation, which allows us to access it. So is the same energy in the outlet the same amount of energy that exists in the power station? No. In the power station, there's a tremendous amount of energy. In outlet, there's very little. If we go to our house and plug into the power station our washing machine, it won't work. There's a special outlet for that. Why? Because that outlet requires more energy than a general appliance does. So in the same way with the Creator almost disguises or masks or creates density of the vessel around the energy so that we can access it more. It's one of the most complicated concepts in Kabbalah to teach, but as the light becomes more and more physically revealed, it loses some of its essence and some of its energy. And these are all reductions or step downs of energy. Does that make sense? It's almost as if we were to take Aramaic, we would open up the Zohar and just plug the Zohar into Google Translate. Google Translate doesn't work for Facebook. It doesn't translate a simple post. Nonetheless, this very deep and advanced concepts, wisdom, and knowledge, right? But if it's in Aramaic, it does nobody any good.
I'm going to pause it there and just comment on a few things first, yeah? So, for those of you listening, I hope this is not too complicated. It might be very new, yes, but you see, as David mentioned, the Creator wanted to give Israel, okay? And when I say Israel, I'm talking about the believers. I'm not talking about just the ones that are living in a plot of land that was carved out of Palestine and was named Israel. And people from Europe were brought there. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the believers. Those who believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It doesn't matter where you were born, or who your mother is, or your father is. Okay? It's the believer. The true believer, the one who wants to live his life according to the laws of the Torah. That is who Israel, when I mention Israel, that is who I am talking about. Okay, let's get that very clear. If you ask me if I support or detest what's happening over in Gaza, of course I detest it. I think it's unfair. Very unfair. But it's a very complicated situation. I'd rather not comment on it. But I just say it's unfair to the Palestinians, period. Okay? But that is not who I'm referring to. I'm referring to the believer. And this wisdom that was given to Moses was intended for the entire world. Don't get it twisted when they want to tell you so they are chosen, okay? Because the Rav himself says that the reason why they were selected is because they were considered the worst in the sense of having the strongest desire to receive, the most selfishness. Because only those who have the greatest desire to receive can reflect and generate the most light. Because only in the greatest darkness will the most light be revealed. Okay? So we're going to continue this tomorrow, because it's very important for you to understand about Rosh Hashanah if you choose to connect to the energy of what David was referring to. So now I'm going to go over to the Zohar reading. Okay?
אברהם הסתכל בי, וכמה דיוקנה דאית קיים, וכמה נהורה, דנחר בים ארתה, וחד שרגה, דלאק כדן האב אברהם, דיורה בחכו אותיו, וליבי ורותי חווה, תדיר בים ארתה. And 59.
Thank you, Rachel. And Gita, please read our last verse for this segment of the connection.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Verse 89. Come and behold. Whoever beholds the form of Adam cannot escape death. That person has to die that instant. For man sees Adam the moment that he dies and passes from the world. But Abraham looked at him, saw his form, and lived. He saw a light shining from within the cave and a candle burning. Then he wanted to dwell in that cave, and his heart and desire were always there. And verse 89. Thank you.
Thank you, Gita. And it's 10:29 Eastern time to adjourn the connection. This segment of the connection for this history group. And it's time to welcome our dear friends from Jamaica and our good friend Joshua. Joshua.
Thank you, Chaim.
Shana Tova, Chaim. It was good seeing you at Rosh Hashanah. Good night, everyone. Yes.
I don't have the host code, so I don't know if you can claim.
Yeah, I will. Let's see.
I hope it doesn't disconnect when I leave.
No, because there's no host. No worries.
Alright, my friend.
I got you. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
4,
3. Good evening, everyone. 48, 2. How you doing, my brother? Good to see you. Ah, yes, I tell you. So, we're broadcasting live on World Vibes Radio. So let's see who is still here. Good evening, everyone. For those of you who are staying. And Yaron, do you look like the... Oh, and Anne. Okay, Anne is listening. And Anna is listening. And Rochelle is listening. Okay, so we've got Sarah, Cece, myself, and Yaron. Welcome. So, you guys were in... let's see. What portion were you in?
So we read from Ignore, and then we read some stuff for Sarah April.
Ah, okay, that's what the last piece was. Okay.
Celebrating her birthday today.
Right. So you know what? Oh, today's her Gregorian birthday?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Beautiful. All right. So let me begin with the prayer of the Ari. One soul with the Rav and Karen and all the Tzaddikim, bringing an end to pain, death, and suffering. Let's see. Making sure that we're all good here. Yeah. Okay. Korach. Yeah, we could read some Korach. Okay. A prayer from the Ari. Ruler of the universe and master of all masters, the Father of mercy and forgiveness, we thank you, our God and the God of our fathers, by bowing down and kneeling, that you brought us closer to your Torah and your holy work, and you enabled us to take part in the secrets of your holy Torah. How worthy are we that you grant us with such big favor. That is the reason we plead before you, and that you forgive and acquit all of our sins, and that they should not bring separation between you and us. And may it be your will before you, our God and the God of our fathers, that you will awaken and prepare our hearts to love and revere you. And may you listen to our utterances, and open our closed heart to the hidden studies of your Torah. And may our study be pleasant before your place of honor, as the aroma of sweet incense. And may you emanate to us light from the source of our soul to all of our being. And may the sparks of your holy servants, through which you revealed your wisdom to the world, shine. May their merit, and the merit of their fathers, and the merit of their Torah and holiness support us, so that we shall not stumble through our study. And by their merit enlighten our eyes and our learning, as it is stated by King David, the sweet singer of Israel. Open my eyes so that I will see wonders from your Torah, because from his mouth God gives wisdom and understanding. May the utterances of our mouth and the thoughts of our heart find favor before you, God, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. All right, so Shana Tova to everyone. We are in the 22-day cycle of the time where we draw down energy for the entire year. Rosh Hashanah was last week. All of us know that. But for the benefit of those on the radio, we're here to read the Zohar, which is written in Aramaic, which is supplement to the Torah, the 5 books of Moses. And as I mentioned, we are here every Sunday night and Tuesday night, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. And let's see. There's a huge hurricane going on, Hurricane Milton, and we have the opportunity to read a section of the Zohar that will help to send energy to reduce the effects of the hurricane and to provide protection to all the people in its wake. That portion is known as Korach, and that is, let's go to it. Yes, I think we can do that. I know there are going to be many people who are going to be reading Yom Kippur for the rest of the week. Yom Kippur is Friday night. So let's read some Korach. Which is in Bamidbar, which is in Deuteronomy. Okay, yeah, we can start with Korah. And the reason why we're reading this portion of the Zohar is because it is the first place in the Torah that mentions about an earthquake. And as I mentioned before, the Creator in his infinite wisdom stored the energy into the Aramaic letters in the form of stories and history. So when we read the Torah in its original language, in the Hebrew, or when we read the Zohar, which is written in Aramaic, we release the light to help to protect us. And that is why the Creator gave it to us, to assist us. These are tools for our well-being. So, we're in the portion of Korach, and I think that is volume, not quite sure what volume that is. But for those of you, let's see, let me make sure that it is being displayed. There we go. Okay. You guys can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Cool. All right. Very good. All right. I see we have Elona, we have Elian, we have Raquel Marcia, Rachel is listening, CC, and Yaron. Apart from Yaron, are there any other Aramaic readers?
I am.
Elian?
Not yet.
Tanya. Okay. Hey, Tanya. Thank you. All right. Awesome. All right. Very good. So to add to our intention tonight, may the energy of the reading tonight go towards sending a shield of protection to all of the people in the wake of Hurricane Milton, and may this energy soften the blow and reduce the energy of the hurricane, that there are no casualties. We can say that because we know that the Creator has given man the power over creation. And for those of us who are continually doing the spiritual work, when we use the tools of the Zohar, we can do that. We can make such bold claims, and the Creator will hear us. And for those of you who have loved ones, or if you'd like to add to the intention, whether through healing or elevation of soul, you may do so now.
Light and love for Aaron Ben Hortense Bat Ida Me. And just like you said, for protection for all those in the wake of the hurricane. Just love and light around the entire world.
Amen.
And for Medya Bat Ru Oko, Ari Ben Ani, Heli Abat Medya, Maja Abat Medya, Pen T Ben Hika, Oli Ben Krise Esa Ben Krise, and Bat Ru Oko, Memhishin.
Memhishin. Okay, awesome. So as I mentioned, we are going to be reading from the portion of Korach. And for those of you who would like to go online, you can see the Zohar at www.zohar.com. And if you go to Zohar Online, click on Full Zohar, it'll take you to any portion that you want to read, and you'll be able to see the Aramaic and the English. So we're in chapter 1 of Korach, and again I said that Korach is given to us as a tool to be able to speak against any kind of natural disasters, as it is the first place in the Torah that speaks about a natural disaster such as an earthquake. So I will read the synopsis. Rabbi Yitzhak tells us that if the children of Israel had followed the Torah, they would not have been exiled, because whoever deals in the Torah has freedom from everything, including death. The Torah is the power of the right, which is the right column, and whoever exchanges the left column for the right column is as if he destroys the world. Rabbi Yitzhak says that Aaron is right, or represents the right, and the Levites represent the left, and that Korach, which was a cousin of Moses, wanted to exchange them in that he desired the priesthood. This is why he was punished. Korach also had an evil tongue. He took bad counsel. He chased after something that was not his. And he turned to disagreement, which brought conflict instead of peace. The Shabbat is the peace of the upper and the lower grades, and by this peace the world endures. Whoever creates dissension in this peace will be destroyed. Hasbe shalom. Okay. Brother Yaron, as always, thank you so much for being here and being one of our Aramaic readers. Appreciate you greatly. Verse 1, please.
It's a pleasure to be here with all of you and reading.
Thank you.
Waking all this life. 1. Vayi Akach Korach ben Yitzhar ben Kaha ben Levi Vagomer Ribi Abba Patah Hanechamadim Mi Zahar Hu Mipaz Ra Hum Tokim Mi Avash Vano Fet Zufin Kama Ilaim Pitkabel Oraita Kama Yakirin Inun Teivin Inun Le'ela, Te'i Avim Imur, Lechola, Begin Te'imur Shema, Kadisha, Nepal Man, Ish Tadal, Ba'oraita, Ish Tadal, Bishma Kadisha, Ve'ish Taziv, Mikola, Ish Taziv, Ba'alma, Then, Ve'ish Taziv, Ba'alma Da'ate, Tahazel, Ba'alman, Ish Tadal, Ba'oraita, Achi, Be'ilana, Dechaye, Ke Avan, Dachid, Be, Chola, Aziz, Ditiv, Et, Chaim, Hi, Lemachazi, Kin, Ba, Vayomer. End of one.
Thank you so much, brother. And I want to welcome Brother Paul Lambert to the call. Paul is actually in Jamaica, the island of Jamaica, currently. So, Brother Paul, thank you so much for tuning in and listening. Raquel Marcia, good evening, and thank you for being here as well, as a part of the Jamaica group. Would you like to read verse 1, please?
Sure. Now Korah, the son of Izhar, the son of Kohat, the son of Levi, took. Right, we have an open discussion with the verse. More to be desired are they than gold, even much fine gold, sweeter also than honey and the honeycomb. How supreme are matters of Torah, and how precious they are. They are desired above, and they are desired by all, because they constitute the holy name. Whoever toils in the Torah strives for the holy name and is saved from all evil. He is saved in this world and rescued in the world to come. Come and behold, whoever deals in the Torah is attached to the tree of life, and since he's attached to the tree of life, he's part of everything as is written. She's a tree of life to those who lay hold on her. End of one.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Tanea, thank you so much for being here with us. This is your first time with us. Really appreciate you. Where are you located?
I'm actually in Florida.
Oh, wow. Okay, yes.
We're in the safe zone. I'm hosting some people.
Well, thank you for hosting people. And thank you for being a channel for the Zohar. Verse 2, please.
רבי יצחק אמר, כל מן דהשתדל באורייתא, וזהו אית למקולה, וזהו ממימיתא, כמה דאמרן בגין דברו לשריה באחיד בי. אילו ישראל מתעטרין באורייתא, ישתזיבו מקולה וכלה, ישתחזו בגלותה ודע, הוא דכתיב בחרות על הלוחות, אל תקרא חרות, אלא חירות וחירות דם באורייתא, ישתכח אורייתא, יהי חילה דמינה כדאיה, ממינה אש דת למו, ושמעלה כליליל ימינה, מן דעבד ימינה, שמעלה ושמעלה ימינה, האילו כאלו חריב עלמא.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you. And good evening, Elona. Are you reading with us?
Can I just listen for this time?
Of course you can. Thank you for being here and being a channel. Appreciate you. Absolutely. Hadassah, good evening. Thanks for being here. Would you like to read English or do you read Aramaic? Hadassah, you're on mute. Okay. Sarah, good evening. Would you like to read with us?
I'll be listening tonight. Thank you so much.
Okay, Sarah, you're listening. Thank you also for being here. Appreciate you. Cece.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Sure.
Rabbi Yishka said, whoever deals in the Torah is free from everything, even free from death, as mentioned in sin's liberty, which is enough, dwells upon him and is attached to him. If Israel had adorned themselves with Torah, they would have been saved from everything and would not have found themselves in exile. This is what is written, engraved upon the tablets. Do not read it with an A, but rather with an E, as Herut, since this freedom is available in the Torah. The Torah is the power of the right, as it is written, from his right hand went a fiery law for them, and the left is included in the right. Whoever makes the right left and the left right is as if he destroys the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Brother Yaron, verse 3.
Verse 3. Ahazeh, Aharon, Yamina, Le'ava'e, Samala, Korah, Aba'e, Lame, Abad, Ki Lucha, Di Mina, Nismala, Begin Kak It Agash, Valaod, Ela, Ishatahak, Be, Lishna, Bilasha, Behit Anash, Bachola, Ribi Yehuda Amar, Samala, It Khalil, Tadir, Bi Mina, Korach, Ba'a, La'ak Lafa, Tikuna, Di Elela, Vatata, Begin Kak, It Avid, Me'ela, Vetata. End of 3. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And since they're limited English readers, nobody else has joined, I will read verse 3. One soul with the Raven Karen and all the Sadiqim, activating all the Zohars all around the world, especially those in the area of the hurricane, Tampa area, aspects of Florida that Milton is threatening. May this energy reduce its strength and send a shield of protection about all those in its wake. Verse 3. Come and behold, Aaron is right, which is Hesed, and the Levites are left, which is Gevurah. Korah wanted to exchange the right for the left. He desired the priesthood, which is right, for the Levites, who are left. Therefore he was punished. Furthermore, he had the evil tongue by speaking out against Moses, and was punished for everything. Rabbi Yehuda said, the left is always contained in the right, because that is how the left is corrected. Korah wished to substitute the correction of above and below, since he aspired to the domination of the Levites, which are the left, so that they should not be included in the priests, which are right. Therefore, he was annihilated from above and below. Aramaic 4. Tanya?
ויקח קורח מאי ויקח נסיב את האישה לגמרי כל דרדף בתר דלאו דילי איהו אריק מקיימי ולא עוד אלא מה דאית בי את אוויר מיני קורח רדיף בתר דלאו דילי Avid Ba'achara La Rabba.
Thank you. And yes, Hadassah, I see that you speak Spanish. Hadassah, if you have the Spanish Zohar with you, you can read that verse. We'll just read it in English afterwards, so just so that you can participate with us. So let me know if you have the Spanish Zohar, okay? Raquel Marcia, verse 4, please.
Now Korah took. He asked, what is the meaning of took? He responds, he took faulty counsel for himself. If one chases after something that does not belong to him, it escapes from him and even loses what he has. Korah chased after something that was not his. Therefore, he lost his own and no one else gained.
I need your help, Lloyd.
Thank you so much. Yaron, verse 5.
Thank you. Verse 5. Barak Azil, Bamak Loki, Bamak Loket, my Maha Loket, Pelugata, Pelugta, Di Leila, Gatata, Uaman Davae, Laaf Daga, Tikuna, the Alma, Yit Avad, Avid, Mechunku, Almi, Mechanoket, Belugata, the Shalom, Uaman, the Falig al Shalom, Halig al Shema, Harisha, Begin Dishma, Harisha, Shalom, Ikre. 5.
Thank you so much. And Cece, verse 5.
Thank you. Correct turned to disagreement. What is the meaning of disagreement? Distancing and repulsion. The distancing and repulsion of what is above and below, and whoever wishes to postpone the restoration of the universe will become lost from all the worlds. Conflict is a distance of peace, and whoever is in conflict about peace is in disagreement with his holy name, because his holy name is called peace. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Tanya, verse 6.
Verse 6. Tahale alma ha'em ela al shalom. Kad bara kushavrechu alma la yachil li'it kaima ad ata b'shara aliyahu shalom. Umayhu Shabbat de'ihu shalama de'ilaye v'chatae uchdin itvakayim alman uman defalik ela yit'avid melamana me'alma.
Thank you so much. And let's see, did anybody else? Paul, hey Paul, welcome to the.
Hello there, Joshua.
How are you, my brother? Would you
I'm
like
well,
to read
thank you.
verse 6, please?
I'll be happy to, thank you. Verse 6, one soul, come and behold. The world does not accept, come and behold, the world does not exist except through peace. When the Holy One, blessed be He, created the world, it could not endure until He came and made peace dwell upon them. What is it? It is the Shabbat, which is the peace of the upper and the lower grades. And then the world endured. Therefore, whoever creates dissension about this peace will be lost from the world. End verse.
Thank you so much. And Brother Yaron, verse 7.
Thank you. Verse 7. Zalaf Chad, Halig al Shabbat, Dahava, Makoshesh, Etzi, U'aman Unun, Etzi, Inun I'lanin, Acharanin, Kid Amara, Ve'inun Ni'lin, Dechol, Vechol, Bakodesh Lo, La, Shari'ah, the Falig al Shalama, the Alma. End of 7.
Thank you so much. And I want to welcome Malka and Irene to the call. Irene, well, she was here. Good evening, Malka. Would you like to read verse 7?
Sure. Good evening, Joshua. Good evening, everyone. Verse 7, one love, one soul. Zelophehad was in dissension with the Shabbat because he was gathering wood or trees. What were these trees? These were the other trees of the 70 chieftains, as we mentioned. These were secular matters, and secular concerns do not prevail in sanctity. Hence, he was in conflict with the world peace, which is Shabbat, because he blended the secular with the Shabbat. Verse 8, Aramaic. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yaron, verse 8.
Okay. I just read.
Oh, I'm sorry. Tanya.
Okay.
So sorry. Thank you.
Number 8. Thanks, Yaron. Okay, Rabbi Yossi Amar, Kitiv Shalom Rav, Ahava Taratecha V'Gomer, Oraita Hu Shalom Dichti V'Chol nitivoteha shalom, v'korach ata la'afgama shalom, dil'ela betata begach it anish hu me'ela betachta.
Thank you so much. And let's see. Okay, so Ilona's listening. Hadassah is Spanish. Sarah. Sarah's listening as well. CC. Oh, actually, I think you just read before that. So we have myself. Yeah, this looks like this will be the last verse anyway. Verse 8. One soul. With all this out came all the friends all around the world, activating all Zohars. Again, sending a shield of protection for all of those in wake of Hurricane Milton. May this reading reduce its strength and cause no casualties, and send a protection to all the people who need it. Verse 8. Rabbi Yossi says that it is written, "Great peace have they who love your Torah." The Torah is peace, as it is written, and all their paths are peace. And Korah came to blemish that peace of above, which is the Torah, meaning the central column that is called Torah, that produces peace between the right and the left, and of below of Moses. Therefore, he was punished from the higher and the lower aspects by fire and by the opening of the earthly chasm. Yeah, so this is where the earthquake occurred, and we're going to use that energy, which is a vaccine to all that is happening right now, the chaos that is happening in the hurricane. And again, may it send a shield of protection around all those who are in need, and for those who are in need of help, may they receive it speedily. I want to thank all of you for being here. Tanya and Brother Yaron, thank you so much for being the Aramaic readers. And for those of you who are listening, thank you for being here and being channels. Because just by you listening, you are a channel to amplify the energy of the Zohar. Chag Sameach to everyone, and may you have an easy fast on Yom Kippur. Thank you so much, everyone. So let's
Nice
see.
meeting you, Joshua.
Thank you so much.
When did you do this?
I'm in New York.
Okay.
And this is for Jamaica. We're here Sunday night and Tuesday night. I'm the leader for the Jamaica Zohar project.
Okay, one of the ladies posted in Bacha's prosperity group. So
I'm sorry?
It was perfect. Somebody posted in Bacha's prosperity WhatsApp group. That's how I saw.
Well, thank you. And listen, we invite you whenever you can make it.
It was great. It was really, really good for me. I'm going to try to save it so I remember. So it starts at what time? 10:30?
10:30 Eastern, yes.
Oh, it's very,
Sunday
very
night,
good.
Sunday night, and Tuesday night. So just
Perfect.
twice a week.
Okay. That was great.
Thank you so much, Tanya. Appreciate you. Chag Sameach. Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
Okay. All right. Let's see. You know what? I have to. Let's see. We don't have another reader, so I am going to pause for a minute. I need to run and grab something. So what I can do until our next leader appears, you know what? I'm going to play a lecture from the Rav. How's that? Yeah, why not? On Yom Kippur.
On Yom Kippur, we connect with the light of Bina, the energy storehouse for our universe. Join the Rav as he reveals the consciousness of what takes place on Yom Kippur.
There is such a thing called vessel and such a thing called light. So after Tzimtzum down to our world, throughout the year when we eat and make the brachot, the maximum that we can achieve is making connections with the vessel, not with the internal aspect of Bina, but the Ari says only from Chitzoniyot, only from its external. Avo biyom kippurim, yesh l'nukva d'zerem pen shehir achel, ilui yetera bebeit b'chinat. In other words, we're only connecting throughout the year to the external aspect, which is metaphysical, which is incidentally the only aspect that can nourish the body. It is still only something of a temporary nature, because the vessel is not the light. So throughout the year, he's saying that when we eat, we have to eat again and again and again. If we are actually connecting to the world of reality by our eating with a blessing, then why do we have to keep eating over and over again? If we're connecting constantly with the world of reality, which is the 99%, why do we have to continually eat? In other words, the Gemara says you can't go more than 3 days straight without eating or drinking, without having a negative effect. So it is only because we are connecting with the external aspect of Bina. Ava b'yom kippurim, we are connecting with both the external and the internal. Im be'inya mitziyot ilui achila v'shtiyah ba'asma, v'im b'bchinat makom motza'on. But in any event, we connect on Yom Kippur with the internal. Why on Yom Kippur? In fact, we're not eating. On Yom Kippur, we're not eating. And yet, we're connecting not only to the external aspect of the food like we do a whole year with the bracha when we eat. Here on Yom Kippur, we are fasting. We are connecting to what? To the internal aspect. By not eating. How do we understand that? Because that, in essence, is the reason why we can, by fasting on Yom Kippur, connect to the internal aspect. Because throughout the year, the body and the physical material of the fruit, despite the fact that through a bracha I can connect to the internal aspect of the fruit, but you can't disregard the physical aspect. It's there. So to the extent that it makes its presence felt, to that extent, we cannot connect to the internal aspect of the food. Only to the external metaphysical aspect of the food. A whole year we eat through the bracha. We make the bracha. By eating with a bracha, he says we connect to Imayilai. We connect to the aspect, the world of reality. But what world of reality? The vessel aspect of the world of reality, not the internal. On Yom Kippur, he says, by not eating, we are connecting to the internal aspect. Because we have to eat throughout the year, therefore the physical nature of that food is involved, as much as we're raising above the level of the physical food, but nevertheless its presence in this world is still a reality. It's an illusionary reality, but it still exists. That prevents us from achieving a connection with the internal aspect of Bina, the internal aspect of the food. But on Yom Kippur, something special is happening. Because on Yom Kippur, the aspect of Pnimiut, or the interior aspect of Bina, is revealed. In fact, the only way we can stop the connection to the interior aspect of Bina is by eating. Why do we say that on Yom Kippur is when we get the Gemar of Chatima of Chaim? Because whereas Rosh Hashanah, until Yom Kippur, we're preparing the vessel. On Yom Kippur, those whose vessels are prepared can now make the connection to the interior aspect, which is the world of reality, unadulterated, without this mixture of physical. Even the physical aspect of Bina prevents a totality of life. It's only a kind of a temporary thing. You have to eat today, you've got to eat tomorrow, and so on. But on Yom Kippur, when we're not eating, the aspect of pure raw energy is available. The only problem there would be if you're prepared to handle that kind of energy. On Yom Kippur, the raw energy is flowing. whether we observe Yom Kippur or we don't observe Yom Kippur, the cosmic effect of Yom Kippur exists. It doesn't change whether I'm prepared or I'm not prepared. It's going to flow. On Yom Kippur, Malchut, meaning ourselves, are restored to the position of creation, just like before Adam's sin. Adam drew energy directly. That's why Adam would live forever. There would be no death, because he drew and he was protected. The energy wouldn't burn him out. He was totally connected. This process is repeated each and every single year. From Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah, this is the period that we are to become energized. Yom Kippur is where Ze'ir Anpin no longer is this kind of protective covering over this raw, naked energy called Bina. In other words, on Yom Kippur, we are exposed directly to this energy, and we have to be exposed directly to this energy, because if we weren't, we would not have the opportunity for a full year of life and everything else that would be necessary. We must be restored to the level of Adam Rishon, where there would be no defilement, no step down of that energy. Any step down would mean that the year has to be a step down, reduced energy, means that Klipot can set in, everything else can set in. It would be inevitable that we must suffer throughout the year. The purpose of the Creator was to make manifest His energy so that people should not have to suffer. Yet most people suffer. You ask why? Because the proper connection with Yom Kippur has not been made. Yom Kippur means the revelation of Bina on that day, whether you're prepared for it or whether you're not prepared for it. It'll come in, because that is the purpose of Yom Kippur. Or not, the person has to die. If he doesn't get a resurgence of energy, then what will keep it from going one more year? The only difference of observing or not observing, of fasting or not fasting, is the extent of preparing the vessel and handling this kind of energy. Because the more the desire to receive for oneself alone is involved, in other words, what's the problem of eating? The physical body is being stimulated. The physical body's presence is being felt. Now that is completely diametrically opposed to the energy. What is energy? Energy has one characteristic: sharing. If I become involved with the body, and then we know the internal energy intelligence of the body is only one aspect, the desire to receive for oneself alone. Here are two energy intelligences that are opposed to each other. Therefore, the Torah advised us not to eat on Yom Kippur, to do as many aspects of deprivation where the body is not stimulated to the extent that it feels that it exists. That's the purpose. Whereas someone who is stimulating his body through any of these five aspects, in essence, he's creating a dissimilarity, a disharmony with the light. Now we understand why Yom Kippur is called Shabbat Shabbaton, because just like in Shabbat, to be able to connect with that kind of energy, which is only through the Irampin as well, but nevertheless, we are automatically raised to another frame of reference. Yom Kippur is called Shabbat to also give us an idea of what's happening. In other words, we're going out of the realm of Malchut, we're going straight up to, in this case, Bina. On Shabbat, we still do not achieve a connection with Bina. It's still through Ze'ir Anpin. It's just that on Shabbat, we have raised our level of consciousness to a higher level than Malchut, and therefore Malchut does not interfere with this drawing of energy on Shabbat, and so we're connected, but not to the extent of being connected without Ze'ir Anpin. We still have Ze'ir Anpin acting as an intermediary between the raw, naked energy and ourselves. But on Yom Kippur, we've achieved an elevation to Bina. Every time Shabbat becomes intermingled with a holiday, it's like we say on Rosh Hashanah. If the first day of Rosh Hashanah was on Shabbat, we wouldn't have to blow, because already we've been raised to an elevated state of consciousness by virtue of the Shabbat. The Shabbat handles the aspect of the shofar. Why do we need the Tikiyat shofar? We said on Rosh Hashanah, because this is our weapon that nullifies and cancels out the Satan. All of those roadblocks to getting to Bina on Yom Kippur. Those are the roadblocks. Come Shabbat, and we learned in the Zohar that this one star comes and cancels and nullifies out all of these satans that are in existence. Therefore, we don't have to blow. The Shabbat is doing the job for us if we do it properly. On Shabbat, even if we would fast, we would still not make that connection with the raw energy of Binah because it is still concealed. Even on Shabbat, it's concealed. The only connection we can make with Binah is via the intermediaries of Zeir Anpin and so forth. We cannot make that connection as we do on Yom Kippur. This has got to last the whole year. And the only way it can last the whole year is if you make that direct connection. If you made the same connection like you would on Shabbat, it was called Shabbat Shabbaton.
Hi, David.
There's
Are you
two
the
aspects.
host for this time?
Yes, where is Joshua? Hey, Joshua. I'm good. How are you? It's good seeing you. Mm-hmm. Okay, got it. Okay, I can read. Oh, you want me to host? Mm-hmm. Oh, is it okay? Is it okay that you do 15 minutes extra each week, or you need me to be yeah, okay. All right. So I'll try to be on time. Okay, no problem. Sure. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua. Chag Sameach. Thank you. Bye. Good night. Good night.
Bye, Joshua. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, let's see.
Radio and on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. That was a 30-minute Zohar reading dedicated to Jamaica. And at the end there, because we were waiting for the next host, I was replaying that lecture from the Rav on Yom Kippur. So we're back again here tomorrow evening at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Jamaica. And we're going to go back and play a little bit more of that lecture from David Grunman on Yom Kippur. Remember, friends, Kabbalah is not a science. Excuse me, it's not a religion, it's a science, okay? And this wisdom that you're hearing is to equip you, is to enable you to be able to take advantage, to take control of your life, to be able to use the forces of nature. Yes? To draw them into your life, to have a better life, more productive life, a healthier life, a life of manifestation, of abundance and wisdom. The reason why the Israelites, again I say, are more powerful and more unified all around the world is because of what they follow. And anyone who follows this wisdom will be the same way. That is what I have found. I've been studying Kabbalah for the last 16 years. And that is what I have found. So my friends, keep listening. We're here Tuesday and Wednesday night, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. in Jamaica. So until tomorrow, have a good night. One love.